Hello, my friends. I'm Tanya from Move Deeply, and it's so nice to be back here to offer a really nourishing, calming class at this busy time of year during the holidays. We just completed the winter solstice yesterday, so I thought it would be a nice time to make a video like this. There will be about 3 to 5 minutes per pose. We're going to be doing a nice restorative session for the most part, a little bit of self-massage and a somatic spinal release. And you don't need a ton of special props. We've got a blanket. You might want 2 blankets, a pillow, and a bolster, or you could just have a few pillows. I have some yoga blocks. Those are optional, but it's good to have maybe some firmer pillows as an option instead of those. But I'll be offering options for each pose, or most of the poses. If, for instance, you don't have blocks, then I'll offer an alternative. So with that, just dress in something nice and comfortable, maybe some layers, since we will be still for the most part. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe. I don't post a whole lot lately, but I do have a lot of videos of somatic movement with restorative yoga on my channel at Move Deeply. And I will be starting to create some new offerings incorporating dance as medicine. So keep an eye out for those. And you can learn more about my work at movedeeply.com. So with that, let's get started. If you want to listen to music, please feel free to put on something nice, maybe on your Bluetooth speaker or something. I'll just be leaving it silent, and the screen will go dark between each pose so that you can just lie in stillness and darkness without the screen being really bright. If you do have an eye mask, that might be nice. So yeah, let's just get settled. You can pause the video if you need to grab some stuff. I'm going to sit on a bolster, just to get my hips up a little higher. And once you feel settled and supported so that your spine can be nice and tall without using too much muscle strength to keep yourself up, just finding that spot where your hips feel supported and lifted just enough for that. So you can relax your hands wherever it feels comfortable, and I invite you to close your eyes. Or just have a soft gaze ahead of you. And just start to go inward, noticing how you're feeling today. Maybe it's been a busy time for a while now, shopping for gifts, organizing events, planning your meals. Or maybe it hasn't been super busy, but we're just wanting to connect with ourselves wherever we're at and acknowledge how we're feeling. If there's a lot of spinning energy, just sitting with that and noticing, feeling the ground beneath you, the pillow beneath you. And just start to tune into your breath. Not necessarily changing anything, just starting to notice where you're feeling your breath. In your body as you inhale and exhale. And then we'll start to deepen the breath a little more gradually in through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. On this next one, let's fill in a little fuller, maybe not your full capacity, but getting there. Inhale. And exhale. And one last time, big breath in. Sitting tall and holding at the top for a couple of moments. And then exhaling with control through the mouth. Good, breathing normally now. And here you might feel the urge to just give out a bit of a sigh, just to release a little bit of tension. So if that's the case, I invite you to take another breath in and then exhale with sound, maybe a yawn, just starting to let things out that you might have been holding on to. Nice. So now let's do a little bit of some self-massage, just to help release a little bit of tension out of the head, neck, face area, shoulders. So we'll just rub the hands together to generate a little bit of heat. Good, and then we'll hold the palms gently over the eyes closed, just feeling that warmth coming in. Good, and then we'll gently tap the fingertips over the forehead. And then just start to run the fingers through the hair, along the scalp, all the way down. Really getting those fingers giving a nice level of pressure that feels good. Just a few times from the top of the head down towards the ears. And then once you get to your ears the next time, just start to massage the ears gently, just giving them a little tug from the top down towards the lobe, gently pinching. Just doing that a few times. You might find a spot where it feels particularly good to just tug and massage, just spend a bit more time there. Nice. And then we'll just massage behind the ear, from behind the top of the ear towards the jawbone a few times, just little circular motions with the fingers. And then when you get to your jawbone again, just find the spot on that lower jaw where it's just below the earlobe usually, and just finding a spot where it feels maybe a little tender. And then holding there, taking a breath in, and exhale through the mouth. Try to let the jaw go slack. Good, let that release. Let's stick out the tongue nice and long, even if it feels silly. Opening the mouth wide. Nice, and then let it release. And then we'll take the fingertips to the base of the skull where there's the occipital ridge where it meets your neck. So just taking little circular motions on that, those sort of more bulbous part of the skull there on either side, gently. And then start to make your way down the neck, maybe starting to pinch and grab with one palm down the either side of the spine, the neck, cervical spine. Just whatever pressure feels good for you. It could be super gentle. And then when you get to the where the shoulders meet the neck, we'll start to squeeze a little bit down that upper trapezius area with both hands on either side. And if you find a spot that's really tight, just try to gather it up in those fingertips and squeeze and hold, and just let them gently slide out, the skin slide out of the fingers. Might want to do that a few times. Good, and then let that release, shake out the hands, flick the fingertips, just send that energy back into the earth. Big breath in, let's reach the arms up. Nice, and exhale, press the air down. Let's roll the shoulders up and back a few times. Maybe nodding the head left to right. Good. And let's make our way to the floor. So I'm going to move my bolster just off to the side because we'll want it later. And just make sure all your props are kind of ready to go. We're going to start with a arch and flatten warm-up. If you've followed my videos before or practice clinical somatics, then it'll be familiar, but I will guide you through it with my voice. It's a very subtle movement, so you can't necessarily see it in the video, but you can have a look if you're not sure. So just bringing your feet on the floor, knees bent. Actually, let's check in with the spine first. So slide those legs out, just coming into a Shavasana. Just noticing how the body feels against the floor, what parts of the body are maybe lifting off the floor, which ones are touching, how's the lower back feeling. If you have lower back discomfort, this might not feel like a good spot to be, but it's always good to check in before we start moving and doing poses so that you can notice any shifts as we go along and come back to this position periodically. Good, so bring your feet on the floor again. Rotate your arms and shimmy those shoulder blades under your upper back so the palms face up or on the pinky finger side of the hand. Let's just tuck the chin in briefly, stretching through the back of the neck. Give yourself a double chin. And then let that release. And again. And let it release. And then we'll start to breathe into the belly. So you can bring your hand there if you need that feedback, just to feel that breath coming down, lower into the abdomen. Breathing in. And out. Let's do that a couple more times, just starting to sense into the muscles in this area as they expand and contract as you breathe. Nice, release that hand to the side if you had it there. And then we'll start to bring some movement to the spine. We're just going to be activating and releasing the muscles along the lower back, lower spine, as well as the lower abdominals. This helps to reset the position of the pelvis and can release tension that can cause lower back pain. So let's just start to take a breath in and roll onto. So let's just start to take a breath in and roll onto the tailbone. So we're just making a little more space between the floor and your low back. Your butt is staying on the floor, and we're just arching that low back, bringing that belly button up towards the ceiling. So you would be able to, in theory, slide a hand under the back if you are arching, and then slowly relax back down with control. Breathing normally, just letting gravity gradually bring you down. So we're slowly relaxing the muscles in that arch back to neutral. Take a moment to fully rest here. And then on your next exhale, we're going to press the low back against the floor. So opposite movement. Start to curl that tailbone in and away from your center. And we're going to be engaging through the low belly to do this. So we're moving with those lower abdominals. So we're not squeezing the glutes here, we're just all activating through the front. So if you are having trouble finding those muscles, you could try to do a hiss through the teeth to activate. And then we'll slowly start to release, breathing normally, relaxing fully back to neutral. So we'll do that a few more times, inhaling to arch, slow release back to neutral. Relax at neutral just so the nervous system can fully release those muscles, and then press the low back into the floor, engaging through the low belly. And slow release back to neutral. Just do a few more in your own time here, using your breath as your guide. The inhale will help us to fill an arch through the belly, and the exhale will help us to engage through the low belly. And just noticing if you have any shaking or less control through any part of that range of motion, just doing your best to start to find more control by slowing down even more, just helping to get the nervous system to communicate better with all those muscle fibers. So the slower you go, the better. The shaking is just a sign that there's some stuck tension there that needs to be coaxed out with the gentle movement. Let's finish up one more round. And when you finished your last one, no rush, just coming to your Shavasana again to check in and notice how things are feeling. You might notice things feel a little flatter through the low back, the glutes are maybe resting lower on the floor, and the pelvis may be tilted differently. And then we'll slowly and gently start to roll over to one side and press yourself up gradually. And we're going to set up for our first restorative pose. So we're going to be using a blanket for the top part near your shoulders. This one is called Mountain Brook Pose. So I encourage you to always just move slowly and with intention as you set up for these poses. So the blanket is going to roll into a little sausage, not too high, about 2 inches max. And your torso from your shoulder blades to your head is going to go on the other side of this sausage. And then you'll take your bolster or pillow under your legs. So I like to start there. And then come down on your elbows. And usually I'll put my elbows kind of on the blanket and then start to slide over the blanket. So the blanket should be, if you wear a bra, around where the bra strap is. And then your arms can kind of just fall open on either side of your body, on the other side of the blanket, or if you prefer, you can put them over your belly. It's wherever feels comfortable. So we're starting to open through that thoracic spine, that mid-back area. It should not be in your low back, and it shouldn't be right under your, beneath your shoulder blades. It's just below the tips of your shoulder blades. So just make sure that's feeling comfortable. It should feel like a nice opening sensation. If it feels like it's too much, you can unroll your blanket a little bit to be not as thick. It doesn't have to be a huge opening, especially if you're quite tight and compressed through the thoracic. We want to be careful with the level of pressure we're putting there. So just play around with it until you find a spot where it feels really nice and supportive. And at this point, you might want to put your eye mask on or a little towel over your face. And we'll take a big breath into the chest. And exhale through the mouth. And on the next in-breath, try to send the in-breath into your upper back body, into that blanket. And exhale, release. Softening through the jaw, the facial muscles. We're going to be here for a few minutes, and you're always welcome to just come out and go into Shavasana at any time. But before you make any big moves, just check in with yourself and make sure that you need to move out of discomfort. And if there's any pain, of course, we don't want that. But if we're moving out of restlessness or boredom, just trying to challenge ourselves to stay there a little longer. So the screen's going to go black now, and you'll hear my voice again when it's time to come back. So just allow yourself to settle, noticing if you're still holding on anywhere in the body, and just try to soften a little more. Just allowing yourself to be here now, resting, releasing, doing something just for you. And then we're going to slowly deepen the breath. Starting to signal to the nervous system that we're going to be moving shortly. Maybe starting to wiggle the toes and fingers. Rotate the ankle slowly. Starting to move yourself over to one side when you're ready. And just taking a moment there. When you feel ready, starting to slowly press back up to seated. Letting the blood just come out of your head. And we'll be moving that blanket out of the way. You might want it for later to use on top of you. And we're going to bring the bolster over to our side, about kind of midway along the torso. Coming back down onto your back. Feet on the floor, about hip distance. Just walk your hips over. So my bolster's on my right side. So just make sure your bolster's there. And then we're going to move the hips over to the left. And then start to drop the knees over to the right. And here you'll put the bolster between the knees. And this can be a pillow, of course. And we're coming into a supported twist. So just finding the spot, the angle of your legs, where you can just rest and relax into this recline twist so the chest is open towards the ceiling. And even if you have a lot of mobility here with your twist and you don't usually use a bolster between your knees, just give it a try and see how it feels. Just makes it a little more restorative so the muscles alongside the hip and the outer thigh aren't being fully stretched to their maximum. If you find that your shoulder is still lifting a lot here, you could bring the bolster underneath both knees instead and support your twist that way. So it's not as much of a twist with both knees. Or alternatively, you can find a smaller pillow to put under that shoulder. So we want to bring the floor closer to us wherever we find we're lifting away. So just making your little pillow nest wherever you need more support. Can always take sometimes a little bit of time to find the spot where it feels truly supported, where you can just melt down into the floor, into the props. And once you've found your comfy spot, we'll send another big breath into that side and out through the mouth. And just allow yourself to settle with every breath. We won't be here quite as long as the last one. You'll hear my voice come back when it's time to switch sides. Just allow yourself to soften down, down, down. And then you'll slowly, when you're ready, move over to your other side. You might need slightly different support. Each side of the body is a little different. So once you find that comfy spot on this side, using your breath to help you soften and release. And you'll hear me when it's time to come back. So just enjoy this release, this time of stillness. And then we'll slowly, with care, bring ourselves back to center. Center those hips, place the bolster off to the side, and then slide the legs out, coming back to Shavasana for a moment. Noticing how things are feeling compared to when you first lay down like this. And then carefully, lazily bringing yourself to seated, preferably rolling to one side and then pressing up. And we'll start to prepare for the reclined child's pose. This is one of my favorites. If you have trouble being on your knees, you could do this as a seated forward fold. So if that's the case, I would suggest putting a pillow or some support under your knees. And then we bring pillows, a layer of pillows or bolsters underneath our torso. So if you find you're quite tight through the low back and the backs of the legs, you're going to want quite a bit of a mountain. No shame in that. We just want to make sure we can relax as much as possible. So if you're choosing to do this to release through the back body, find your stack and allow your head to rest so that your neck can also relax and that the weight of your head isn't stressing the back of your spine. And if you are comfortable with child's pose, then join me in that position. The knees are nice and wide. And on either side of the bolster or pillows, you can stack a couple of bed pillows. And sometimes I like to put something actually under my butt, between my heels and my butt, for the restorative version of this pose. Just helps to release a little more through the low back for me. So once you're settled there with your seat, start to inhale up and over the bolster, bringing the belly and the chest onto the bolster. My microphone's here, so I'm not going to go down all the way, but you're going to come down all the way and just rest your head to one side or forward down, forehead down, whatever feels best for you. Your arms are just relaxing on either side of the bolster where it feels best. So once you're settled in either your seated forward fold or your child's pose, we'll take a nice big breath into the back body. And then exhale through the mouth. Just allow yourself to fully melt down into your props, letting those muscles in the back gradually release, letting the jaw soften. And if your head is to one side, you'll want to move it periodically to the other side. Just allow yourself to settle, using your breath as needed to help you soften. Just letting it all go. And then we'll slowly start to deepen our breath. Gradually waking up your body. And when you feel ready, pressing up and back to your seated position. Starting to move those props off to the side. And we're just going to finish up with a legs up the wall variation, or if you have a wall nearby or a surface similar to a wall, you could use a couch as well. We're going to be putting our legs up. I like to use a bolster when I don't have a wall handy, but if you did have a couch like this, you can bring your bum up against the side and bring your legs up like this and make yourself comfortable on the other side there. Or if you have a nice big bolster like this that's quite firm, then you can come up to sit on the bolster, gently, slowly come back down onto your back, and then we'll start to bring the legs up over our hips. So the bolster is just kind of wedged right around that back of the pelvis at an angle where it feels like your legs can just hover over your hips. So we won't be here super long because it could be a little bit challenging to keep them there for a long time, but we're just going to be spending a bit of time breathing, maybe rolling those ankles slowly in one direction and the other, trying to make it slower than you normally would. A more somatic style movement of really tuning into the soma, the body, helping the nervous system connect with all those little muscle fibers that it starts to bypass after a while with our day-to-day use of muscles. And then just settle into stillness for a few breaths. You can slowly start to bring the knees into the chest. Move that bolster, if you have one, further down, and just move your bum off of it. So it's going to be under your knees. Or if you're beside a couch or a wall, come back to your mat and make yourself comfortable in your final Shavasana pose. So supporting your knees can just help to release a little more through the low back. Even if you don't have back tension or pain, it can just be a nice way to have a more restorative Shavasana. If you do have a really tight neck when you lie down, you're welcome to put a little pillow under your head. But ideally, we want to try to get that head neutral back in line with the rest of the body. So if you don't have a significantly forward head posture, just allow it to rest on the floor. And we'll just take a nice big breath again. Just imagine sending it all the way down to your feet. And exhale through the mouth. Releasing your toes. Letting your feet be heavy. Letting the legs get nice and low onto the ground. Letting those muscles soften all the way up the legs into the hips. Softening through the pelvic floor. Releasing through the low belly. Softening through the chest, shoulders, the hands, the arms. Releasing through the neck, the jaw, the space between your eyebrows. Letting the head be heavy. And just letting yourself be here now. Letting everything else stay out the door for now. As you restore and recollect yourself in these last minutes of this session, so that you may be fully present and connected for this season, or whatever season you may be doing this in. It's always important to restore ourselves on a regular basis, especially if we tend to serve others in our work. We need to tend to ourselves. If you find your mind wandering, just come back to your breath. And just allow yourself to drift into the parasympathetic state. we'll start to gently deepen the breath. Starting to wiggle the toes and fingers softly. Gently waking up the body in a way that feels natural to you. Starting to wake up the muscles through slow movement, stretching, activating, releasing. And then eventually taking a full body stretch, contracting all the muscles as you inhale, and then releasing as you exhale. And then you want to slowly roll over to one side into the fetal position. Taking one last moment here to really feel into that deep rest that you've been practicing this session. Gently pressing yourself back up to seated. Sitting tall. And if you're doing this session before bed, then you might want to just go straight into your bed. Or if you're continuing on with your day, I invite you to just tap your fingertips over your forehead to wake up your mind a little bit again. Flick those fingertips, send it back into the earth. We'll take a big breath in and out. Hands to heart center if you like. Giving thanks to yourself for honoring your needs. Maybe giving thanks to something or someone else that feels right. I thank you for joining me today, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, your week, and keep moving deeply, and I hope to see you again soon.